All right, this is John Kohler with GrowingYourGreens.com. Today I have another exciting episode for you and caught me on vacation on the beach here in California, here in Monterey, California. Actually, I'm not on vacation. I'm on a trip to cover the 35th annual Eco Farm event. So this is basically the conference for the Ecological Farming Association, and this is the 35th one that they've had. So whether you're a home gardener, whether you're a real farmer, or whether you're somebody that sells fresh produce or interested in it, you know, they have all kinds of different workshops and exhibitors and networking to basically get you connected, where you're going to learn all kinds of stuff like, you know, organic agriculture, like permaculture, like, you know, biodynamic agriculture. I mean, this is the place you definitely want to be. This year's event, there's like 2,000 people in attendance. Basically, they take over the Asilomar Conference Center, and it's actually just steps from the beach. Super amazing. And this is the program guide here. Eco Farm, 35 years. You can visit them at eco-farm.org. They will make the presentations available online in MP3 format. You know, so if you weren't able to be here, you could actually at least hear some of the lectures that occurred here to get some of the information. I'm here today to basically do a story and report to you guys, my viewers, on what you guys missed. So I'm going to be going to many of the different workshops over the next 3 days, and basically I'll summarize what I learned. Also in this episode, I'm going to share with you guys what it's like to be here if you've never come, or you know, and you're interested in going. You're going to want to pay attention. I mean, one awesome event. This runs from like 8:30 a.m. to like midnight. They have dances at night. They have a seed sharing event where basically they just share seeds amongst each other. There's all kinds of different network opportunities for beginner farmers, for women, for this, for that. They show all kinds of different cool movies. A movie that I'm really interested in seeing is a movie on hemp, actually. And so many different things going on. I'm not gonna be able to all cover it in this one video, but I'll try to do the best I can. So stay tuned, where I get to share my experiences at the 35th annual Eco Farm Conference. One of the main reasons why you might want to come to Eco Farm is for all the education. I mean, it's insane, the amount of education and the amount of people that are here teaching this stuff. I mean, literally, like in every one particular hour, there could be up to 20 different workshops going on, and I really like that the workshops are like an hour and a half. Many different conferences I've been to, the workshops are like 50 minutes or an hour, and it's just not long enough to fully grasp the subject matter that's being presented. But with an hour and a half, it's plenty of time so that the speaker and the presenter can fully, you know, share their messages with you guys about the ecological farming, the organic farming, the permaculture, or even the biodynamics. Now, what I'm gonna do is actually go to some of these workshops, and I'm probably gonna just pull out some of the points that I've learned that were most valuable to me. So besides just the workshops, there are other presentations throughout the day. And you know, I really wanna stop there on the presentations. Like, what's really cool is actually people that are speaking here are actually doing this stuff, right? It's not like some noob out of college, just like, or a professor sharing with, you know, knowledge. It's like, you know, yesterday I went to a talk by a farmer that's been farming 8 years successfully, no-till method, and he makes $250,000, you know, a year on cultivating 3 acres on his 8-acre farm. The other 5 is not usable. But I mean, this stuff can be done, and Eco Farm seeks out like literally the best presenters that are actually doing this stuff to share their knowledge, their secrets with you guys. And that's the #1 reason why you guys want to come to Eco Farm, is to be able to meet some of the people, hear the information, more importantly, ask them questions so that you guys could basically just ride on their coattails and follow what they've been doing instead of trying to recreate the wheel, because that could actually end up costing you more money than just coming to Eco Farm and learning from the experts. So now we're outside the seed swap here at the Eco Farm Conference, and this is going to be totally amazing. I mean, one of the things is it's totally crowded, which is kind of crazy. But the seed swap is really cool. Basically, farmers and individuals can bring their seeds to share their seeds. And you know, there's organizations and farms that bring seeds to basically swap and basically just share with others. And this is really cool that the community literally comes together at this event to share not only the seeds, but also scion wood to basically spread the genetic diversity of fruit trees. So I'm going to go ahead and go inside each of the different areas to share those with you, what's happening here if you weren't able to attend. All right, so now we're inside the seed exchange, and this is one vibrant seed exchange, man. It's the biggest seed exchange I've ever seen. And it's really cool that individuals come and farms come and just bring their seeds to share with one another and with the community. And so that other people can basically take the seeds, grow them, and spread them out to other people. This is completely opposite of genetically modified crops where they're trying to patent seeds and sell seeds. Here, they're giving away seeds and sharing seeds so that this genetic diversity can be spread. And man, this is one awesome seed swap here. Let me go ahead and take you guys down and show you guys some specific tables and some of the cool varieties being shared. Here's a table here from Wild Willow Farm, and they're in San Diego, and they brought a number of different seeds to share, including burgundy amaranth, cilantro, Italian parsley, Azacan green dent corn, Hopi blue corn. Look at the colors on that, man. That's really cool. That's corn. And even some garlic and some fennel. And this is just really cool that they're bringing these seeds. And, you know, these seeds are raised in a specific area. So, like, if you live in San Diego, these are the crops that are going to do well for you, you know. If you live in a San Francisco area, you might have other crops that'll do well there. Here's another farm with different kinds of bean seeds, pole beans, wow, Black Panther soybeans, check that out. Tongues of Fire heirloom bush beans, Sonoran wheat. So this is one of the most abundant seed swaps that I've seen. Like, there's just so many people participating from different areas with all kinds of different seeds available. And it's just like so many people trying to grab some seeds. One big free seed grab. I mean, if you've been to like a Black Friday, like shopping, I don't know, this isn't as bad. There's not people pushing and shoving because the people are really nice here, but everybody just wants to get their seeds so that they can grow and preserve some of this genetic diversity. All right, so now we're at the Arts and Ecology Center table, and they have probably the most seeds of any different person or organization that brought seeds, many of which actually I'm growing because of them. Actually, this one's called Wakate, and they got Stradolo, Caraway, all kinds of different seeds right on down the way. You gotta be here to get them, unfortunately for you guys watching, so come here next year. This is worth your trip to get some of these rare seeds that are available here at no cost to all the attendees. All right, here's some more seeds from the Bay Area. And check this out, man. Bloody Butcher Flint corn. Look at the colors on that. Oh, look at that Aztec spinach. All these cool and rare things. Popping amaranth. Have some amaranth popcorn instead of regular popcorn.
What do they got going on these days?
Dakota black corn, Colorado quinoa, calendula, Titan sunflowers. Look at the corn there. Amazing. So now what we're looking at is part of the seed exchange, but it's not seeds. They're little twigs. Yeah, these are actually called scion wood. And what the scion wood is used for is to basically get new varieties or cultivars onto your existing trees. So, you know, they have all different kinds: apricots, pluots, Asian plums, European plums, nectarine, peaches, apples, almonds. And this happens to be the Asian plums there, and they have all different varieties. You take one of these sticks out of the package, and then what you're going to do in the cold season right now, so you're going to get it home and you're going to store it in your fridge, and then you're going to basically graft it on to your existing tree that's a similar type. So, you know, this is an Asian plum. You could graft onto other Asian plums and probably other plums that it would be compatible with. It's kind of like if you lost your arm, you had to get your brother to chop off his arm and paste it on yours. That's what you do with the trees to have new varieties, you know, on different branches. So yeah, they have lots of varieties here, and this is all included in the price. People are just coming here and just taking a few so that they can, have different varieties and propagate and share these with other farmers to spread the beauty of the genetic diversity. So one of my favorite parts of the Eco Farm, besides the education, which is always number one to me, is being able to visit the exhibitor area. I mean, this is a super huge tent there with over 24 different exhibitors sharing their organic, natural, sustainable products, but not only products, but also different organizations, that are into farming and all kinds of other cool stuff. Some of them have to do and are applicable to home gardeners. So what we're gonna do next is actually go inside the exhibitor area, and I'm gonna share with you guys only a handful of my top selected booths, that I think are the coolest inside there, that you may want to pay attention to and maybe even order from. So let's go ahead and show you guys some of the cool exhibitors here at 2015 Eco Farm. So now we're gonna walk in the exhibitors area, and there's just so many different exhibitors. The one I wanna show you guys is actually just right over here. I mean, they got things on pasture farming, and there's different seed companies and solar power, which I think is all really cool. They got some cool little flow form things and pyramid things, but we're talking about something more real today. Actually, it's the booth of the green steaders right here, and check it out. What they're doing is they're promoting biochar. So while I have had biochar on my show before, and you could buy the biochar, what I think always better than being a consumer and buying things is producing it yourself. So now what they got here is what's called a little top lit updraft stove, and you can make those out of 55-gallon drum, which I've seen before, but this doesn't really help out gardeners, and unless you're being able to weld and all this kind of stuff, can't really make something like that. But what they have is actually a new portable version made in India that was actually designed and made so that people can actually cook indoors and not burn over an open fire, so they wouldn't get problems with their lungs filling up with smoke. Now, why this is very invaluable is because this stuff right here, it's a Terra Preta soil down in South America. They found that a really good soil is really dark and black, and this is because of the carbon content, and the corn yield was up to 63 times greater with the carbon. This also does, basically hold the carbon in the soil instead of in the atmosphere. So this can also be part of a solution for the, warming of the earth, if you believe in that stuff, which I do. So this is a good way that the indigenous people used to, basically improve their soil, and this is a practice not commonly used in agriculture today. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys this little now home unit that you can use for cooking, whether you're camping. You could take it camping, you could just use it at home. I wouldn't use it inside my house, I'd use it outside. You can actually cook with this. You could actually make your own biochar with this, and I like this mainly because it allows you to make your own biochar in just like a little small compact space. This is the cooking apparatus here. We could just go ahead and remove that. So what you're gonna do is take off the top here, and what you're gonna do is fill this little chamber right in here with something like this. Just like, chipped up bark. You could put pine cones in there. You could put, just pieces of wood in there. You could put like just anything that you could burn that you really couldn't use in your garden. Like, I really like the idea of putting like a ton of pine cones in there. I mean, if you can't get any carbon source, which would be really rare, you could even buy things like the, wood chip pellets, or wood burning stove pellets. Put that in there, then you're gonna put this in there, and then you're gonna light it up top, and it's basically gonna burn virtually clean, provide you a heat source. Maybe you want to heat your house in the winter with one of these guys. But at the same time, you're gonna basically burn in an oxygen deprived environment, and what's gonna happen is that, the bark and chips like that are gonna turn into something like this. And this is the biochar right here, and that's gonna stain my hands now. And if you just put like pieces of wood in there, then you're gonna get like just this charcoal stuff. Now, this is a pure biochar, and you should be using this in your soil. And here's when they put in some of the wood pellets, and this took a lot longer to burn. So I mean, the softer stuff takes about 20 minutes to burn until you get your biochar. Now, if you have a big farm or operation, this one little thing is not gonna do it for you. You might need a bigger one. But I think for home gardeners, I think every home gardener should have one of these to make their own biochar. So you guys start including the biochar, you know, in your soil mixes to put in your raised beds. You know, make some biochar and add it to when you are composting to get some of the carbon back in there. You know, the carbon, it has a lot of different benefits in the garden. Some of the benefits will lock the carbon in the soil, improve the soil structure, and improve the water retention, reduces the need for fertilizer use, enhances crop yields. And for me, mainly, you know, one of the main things about the carbon is that if we look at it under a microscope, like you can see here, there's all different kinds of pores and crevices and cracks, and this provides incredible home, you know, for the microbes, you know, that I promote in my gardening style. And there's a really good book actually called The Biochar Revolution that gets a lot more into, you know, all about biochar, formulating recipes and all this kind of stuff and the technical stuff. So I would recommend you guys get this book, The Biochar Revolution, with the little champion stove. Now you're wondering, John, how much is that little stove thing? Well, check it out. The stove is $149, so this makes it possible for people to make their own biochar. I mean, you could be slave to biochar and buy biochar by the bag for sometimes 30 bucks, right? But if you buy a stove once, right, you make your own biochar, you could easily make your money back in no time, especially when you find so many pine cones and other things that, you know, would normally go to the landfill. You can burn this and make your own biochar. So you might want to also get the stove and the book, which is what I'd recommend. And the cool thing is, this is made in India, and for every one that is sold here in the United States, the company donates one to a family in India so that they can actually cook their food in a clean and efficient manner, and also at the same time make their own biochar. So if you're interested in getting one of these guys, you're going to want to contact Lydia, and she's at the greensteaders.org. All right, so this year at the Eco Farm, there's not too many booths or exhibitors that I'm super excited about, but I want to show you guys the one that I'm most excited about out of all the different exhibitors at this event. It's actually called the Aqua Sap, and this is actually a seaweed product now starting to be imported from India, and it's super cool. If you thought kelp was really good for its growth hormones and amino acids and trace minerals, this stuff, in my opinion, kicks ass over kelp. So let's go over and share with you guys more about Aqua Sap. So now I'm at the Aqua Sap booth, and I'm going to share this stuff with you guys and check it out. Here it is. The Aqua Sap comes in a 1 kilo. It's a kilo of seaweed powder. And let me go ahead and open up a little sample size for you guys to show you guys what it looks like on the inside. Now this is 100% seaweed powder, and this is not derived from kelp. Actually, it's this stuff called Capparis alvarezi, and I probably didn't even say that right. That's all right though, but check this out. Here's this little powder. This is 100% soluble seaweed powder, and you can even, wow, tastes quite salty. Actually, I kind of like that. I think I might add that to my food, my dinner tonight. But this is pure seaweed powder. It's certified organic, so this is really cool. It's organic for use in organic agriculture. It also is CDFA. And let me share with you guys the benefits. I mean, we all know the benefits of the kelp, right? And there's soluble kelp powders that are now being sold, and they're actually quite expensive. This product costs less than soluble kelp powders, although it's more expensive than like granularized kelp because they do some processing to this. Basically, they take the seaweed, they basically extract out all the fiber or carrageenan that goes off to sell for food use, and then they now have this product which they make the fertilizer from. And if we open this up, they've been using this in India for a number of years now, and you can see just some of the yield increases in some different crops. So for example, in soybeans, 14% increase, in corn, 49% increase just by adding the Aqua Sap seaweed powder. Now, is that because of the nutrients in the seaweed powder, like the nitrogen or potassium? Well, in my opinion, probably some of the main reasons why the seaweed powders work, whether it's kelp or this kind of seaweed, is because of the plant growth regulators and also the amino acids. In addition, of course, as this is grown in the sea, you know, just in the natural sea, you know, it is farmed from the sea in shallow waters. It contains, you know, a full spectrum of different trace minerals that I believe are really important. So let's share with you guys more about this this red seaweed. You know, the kelp is like a green seaweed. This is actually a red seaweed or red algae. And one of the cool things about this algae versus the kelp is that this is more of a sustainable product. This grows 300% faster than kelp. Now, kelp is basically mined, it's taken out, it's just naturally grown and it's farmed. Whereas this product, they actually set up bamboo rafts, and I saw the whole process, looks amazing. They get people that live near the sea in India, some of the poorest people in India that don't have any money. They now can just basically simply make some rafts with some bamboo and some netting in certain areas where there's fish that would eat it. They basically put like 60 kilograms of the seaweed basically to start, and then they just leave it in the sea, and it expands like 4% per day. So this grows incredibly fast in the tropical waters, and it grows in calm waters. And then they take the seaweed and they process it. And it's done at a low temperature, under 121 degrees approximately. And I like this a lot because many, soluble seaweed powders are processed with like alkali, and there's, adding extra things into the powder that shouldn't have been there. So this is 100% natural. This is something that actually I want to really get on using, not only for the yield increases, but more importantly, it's for these guys right here. It's the plant growth regulators known as the auxin, cytokines, and gibberellins, which will increase your crop yields. And so, I want to try to have an inclusive kind of like mentality about gardening. I want to share this inclusive mentality with you. Oh, instead of using the Miracle-Gro fertilizer that provides my plants this many different nutrients, right? How many of you guys out there have ever added this product with this specific seaweed with a wider spectrum of different nutrition, phytochemicals, phytonutrients, plant enzymes, and more importantly, those plant cytokines, gibberellins, and auxins that can increase your plant performance. Now, the way this is applied is through a foliar's feed. So you would basically take this powder, mix it with some water, and then spray it on your plants. And you cannot burn with this product, which is really cool. The only thing that may happen is if you use too much of this product when germinating your seeds, it may reduce germination, although in their testing, if used in proper amounts, it'll actually increase and speed up the germination time of all your different plant starts. So I'm gonna encourage you guys to use the AquaSap, from the time your plants are seeds to the time you're growing them indoors in little starter packs, all through the time that you put them outdoors, for the maximum amount of production, for the maximum amount of nutrition in the crops you're growing. So to learn more about the AquaSap, you want to visit the website www.seednutri.com. This is a brand new product just being introduced into the USA, so they don't have a shopping cart online yet. You can learn more about the product there and then give them a call to order it. I definitely want to encourage you guys to check this product out. I hope to be using this very soon in my garden, and I'll be sure to share the results with you. Seaweeds are one of my favorite things to add into my vegetable garden, not only for the minerals, the amino acids, but more importantly, those plant growth regulators that can make your yields grow up dramatically. All right, so there's another booth I want to share with you guys. If you guys are organic farmers or gardeners, you guys want to know this. Compost. This is the Herbert family farm. They grow vegetables, but also produce some of the highest quality compost here. And talked to the farmer himself, and basically he was at the Eco Farm in 1991 and learned from some people that came up from Austria that really, it's like German engineered compost. Like, I own a Volkswagen, it's a pretty good car, but literally these people from Austria are pretty precise with making compost a certain way. And it's actually the right here, the CMC group in Austria. There's a phone number for those of you guys. And back in 1991, they talked about how bad methane was. And of course, there's benefits to compost, and compost is the way to build the organic matter and also the microbial activity in your compost. But not all composts are created equal. So here's a paper on controlled microbial composting by Siegfried Lückby of Austria, and this is a whole printout, which unfortunately is not available online anywhere. So I'm going to grab this. I don't normally like to grab papers, but a specific system for making some of the best compost. Of course, humus is very important as a component of the compost in the soil. Here's some tools that actually to measure the temperatures in the big piles that Mr. Herbert makes. And he's got like a temperature gauge and also a CO2 tester inside there. And the cool thing that really got me to this booth to learn about what they're doing are these guys, because I'm into like alternative health and knowing about iridology, where you look at eyes underneath a microscope and you can see like all this stuff. It's like, what the heck is that? Like, so what all these pictures are showing, this is actually called the filter chromatography, and this is something actually that you can do at home with some silver nitrate yourself. And basically what you're going to do is you're going to take some of the compost that you make, you're going to basically put it in a mortar and pestle, and then basically you're going to, you know, they have this whole specific sheet on how to do it personally. And then you got to, you know, over a long period of time, maybe like a day, you can actually make your own one of these guys using silver nitrate and your compost. And what these show is different grades of compost. So for example, you know, like a really good compost is going to look like this, and this is a way that you could actually, you know, test your own compost at home. I mean, this is showing that after 6 weeks the compost is complete. We got a nice range of colors and a lot of these different little, you know, things coming out, which means like there's a lot of amino acids and bacteria in there. And if we look at like some of these other ones over here, like for example, this is a really poor compost, right? Really bad. And if you want to see even a worse one, it's actually just right here. This is a compost derived completely out of 100% manure, and it's anaerobic, and it's really bad. You shouldn't even use this stuff. So this is also another way you can actually test compost that you're considering buying, is if you learn how to do this technique. And that's really cool, and this is really inexpensive to do. I mean, most people nowadays rely on a soil test. And the soil test here can cost like $300 and can tell you certain things, you know, and it's going to cost you a lot of money. But, you know, doing it this way, you're going to instantly kind of see what's happening with the compost. And if you get trained in all this stuff, which maybe one day I will be, you could tell, like, you know, what each different picture means. So the Herbert family compost is right here. And this is you know, he says this is a pretty good compost, but he could still improve, and he's been working at this for 20 years now. And so I wonder really like what my compost would look like. Of course, you know, the final test of a compost is actually using it yourself in the garden to grow something like the cress that has actually a short cycle, and that you could grow and see how well it grows. And I always encourage you guys to do a pot test. So you take some of the compost or different ones you want to try and germinate something like pepper cress in it and see how fast it grows, see how well it grows, and see if it even grows at all. Because some of these soils, you know, like the anaerobic one that has a really bad picture, it's probably not going to grow well at all, and probably is detrimental to your soil instead of helpful, as much as I like compost. So now we're at the Johnny Selected Seeds booth, and this is one of my favorite booths, of course, seed companies, because it takes the seed companies to get you guys out the seeds so that you guys can grow the plants. And I like Johnny's a lot. Actually, I order from them myself, and what they got is they got like over 200 new products for 2015, including a whole bunch of cool seed varieties. You can check them out, go to their website, johnnyselectseeds.com, and get one of their catalogs. And they normally have free shipping for over $200. And one of the seeds I really want you guys to pay attention to, especially if you're watching this now in the winter time and you're still not able to grow outside, you should be starting and have already started your seeds inside to plant out in, you know, after the last frost date. But what you can grow all times of the year inside, wherever you live, are these guys, the microgreens. So Johnny sells a lot of different microgreen seeds. This is a nice brochure on that. Let me go ahead and open it up. Look at all these different microgreen varieties that they sell that you can grow. Actually, today at the farmer's market, I tried like micro cilantro and micro radish, and it's just so delicious. And microgreens are nutrient packed, 4 to 40 times more nutrients than the full-size vegetables. Plus they're so tender and so delicious and really easy to eat. Actually, that's what I'm eating tonight for dinner. I'm eating a whole bunch of microgreens. Now, the other reason why I like Johnny's is because always at the Eco Farm conference, they have a coupon. So don't tell them, I'm sharing it with you guys. So with this coupon here, it's you're gonna use the offer code 15-9634 right there, 56-9634 on their website, and you could get free shipping for your orders of $30 or more instead of over $200, which is what they normally have. So you guys that are farmers and gardeners and home growers, free shipping, and that could, you know, save you some money. So yeah. Oh, and the offer ends 3/24/15. So hopefully I'll get up this video pretty quick for you guys. So another one of my favorite booths here at the Eco Farm is the Hempstead Project Heart. It's hempsteadprojectheart.org, and they're a nonprofit organization dedicated to raising the awareness about hemp. Now, I want to let you guys know, number one, right now, before you click that unsubscribe button, for me talking about cannabis again, this is not the same as medicinal cannabis. This is hemp. It contains, you know, very little, if any, THC. It has to be below a certain level, and this is actually grown for its industrial fibers and other properties primarily. So I saw a really cool movie here. Actually, it was this one, Bringing It Home, which talked about all the benefits of the industrial hemp that is legal to grow in places like Canada and the UK, and they're growing it in mass quantities to actually import it into the United States. And I think we should be able to grow our own hemp here. You know, after all, the Declaration of Independence was written on hemp paper, and our founding fathers grew hemp, and even in World War II, you know, the US government, you know, had people grow hemp, you know, for the war, and then they made it illegal again after that. After they needed it, they made it illegal. So I think it should become legal. There's a good advocacy organization called Vote Hemp that you want to check out. But what I want to do in this part of the episode is actually share with you guys just some of the things that you can use hemp for, you know, including the clothing, which I'm not going to get into. They actually have like a sink here made out of the hemp. Of course, I'm going to encourage you guys to use natural body care products like the soap made out of hemp. It's the Dr. Bronner's brand, which actually I use myself at home. And of course, you know, I want you guys to eat hemp seeds. Hemp seeds are high in omega fatty acids. This is the Nutiva brand hemp seeds. I like to include these a lot. I prefer to eat actually seeds instead of nuts. And these are one of the most balanced seeds for your diet that you guys should be including regularly. And that's all cool, but what about some other stuff? I'm really into the hemp building products. So when I do build a house one day, it's gonna be out of hopefully hempcrete if I can afford it. Maybe hopefully I'll even be able to grow my own hemp to make my own hempcrete. And then also they have another cool product, Hemp Shield, that let's go ahead and do a close-up on. For you guys that are gardeners, like you guys gotta protect your raised beds with something. I want you guys to use natural products instead of products, you know, made in chemical factories. And the Hemp Shield is one of those that's anti-mildew and all this stuff. So let's go ahead and do a close-up on that for you guys. All right, so now I'm gonna share with you guys some products actually made out of hemp. Of course, they got a rope made out of hemp, nice and strong. Actually, I think like, you know, of course, cloths can be made out of hemp, and I think Christopher Columbus sailed across the ocean with a hemp mast or whatever, or sail. And this is really cool, man. Like, you ever install fiberglass? Like, I've installed the fiberglass insulation because our houses are supposed to be insulated, right? So we could save energy, right? With fiberglass, it gets you all itchy and all that stuff. But here's some hemp insulation that's much, you know, better for the environment. It's actually also a lot thicker, and also, you know, if you rub it up against you, it's not going to make you itchy forever. So I like that a lot. And let's see what else. They got all kinds of cool stuff. Of course, I think my hippie friend has a hemp wallet. I'm not to that level yet, but it's definitely cool. But what I want to share with you guys is two things. Mainly is the Hempcrete, which is made out of hemp, and this is a breathable material that you can build a house out of. And so I really like that a lot. A non-toxic house, you know, much like I want you guys to get the chemicals and things out of your garden and stuff. I want you guys also to get the chemicals out of your home, and, you know, the paints with high VOCs and all this kind of stuff. And so with the hemp products, you can do that because it's all natural. But the main product that I'm really interested in to share with you guys is this stuff right here. It's actually called the Hemp Shield. It's a penetrating oil and wood finished, you know, used for outdoors like decks and all this stuff. And this is a completely safe material to use like for raised bed gardening. So, you know, if you were just to use, you know, standard untreated lumber outside, it would, you know, basically rot on you. and this will delay the rotting process. Now, of course, if you're making a raised bed, I always encourage you guys to use something like the redwood or the cedar, wood that's going to last a lot longer and not break down as quickly as like the Douglas fir or some pine that people use that is construction grade. But even if you do get the construction grade stuff, for relatively inexpensive so that you can actually start growing some food in, you want to get something like the hemp shield here to coat the boards so it's going to stay preserved and last that much longer. And it also is non-toxic. I also, get so many requests for people, John, what do I treat my wood with? And I mean, I use some stuff that wasn't the hemp shield. It actually was a soy-based product, and it actually mildewed and looks terrible now. And this one says it's actually low VOCs, zero hazardous air pollutants. It's formaldehyde free, and it's a mildicide, algicide, and fungicide. And I wish I would have used this stuff instead of the soy-based stuff that I used way back in the day. So yeah, check them out. You can learn more at hempshield.net about this product. And I want you guys to vote for hemp and encourage its use. Check out Vote Hemp for more information. And for more information about hemp in general, you want to visit hempsteadprojectheart.org. All right, so what'd you guys think, man? That was like awesome. Some of the exhibitors there, man, I really like that personal biochar maker. And I hope to get one of those soon. I'm gonna make a very good video review of it. I go through a lot of coconuts. I have a lot of coconut carbon, like the shells just laying around, that take a long time to compost down. But with that biochar maker, I can make my own biochar out of coconut carbon, or coconut. And, I could even use that for other things besides just re-putting in the soil. I mean, it's a charcoal. It could filter your air. It could filter your water. Man, that biochar maker is awesome. And that AquaSap stuff, right? That stuff is the bomb. An amazing mineral that you can add to your soils to increase the different nutrients in there, but also some of the plant auxins and growth regulators, that your plants need for optimal growth. Probably the other exhibitor booth that I really liked a lot was that one on compost that I'm going to talk about in just a little bit, man. All composts are clearly not created equal, and after going to that booth and sharing with you guys what you guys saw and even picking up some handouts, I know so much more about compost and basically what I learned is that I know hardly nothing about compost, and I really need to get an education and more importantly learn all this stuff so that I could share with you guys so that you guys could make a better quality compost. So I mean, here's the little guidebook to the Eco Farm, and this is at the Asilomar Conference Center, and the place is huge, so I was having to walk from one place to the other place, and of course, then I have to make dinner and eat lunch and all this stuff, and time goes pretty quick when you're having fun. In addition, it was really cool. Patagonia was there, and this is something I learned about Patagonia that I never knew before. They repair zippers and repair their clothes. If you buy a Patagonia piece of clothing, you just send it into them and they'll repair it for free, man. That's amazing. And I didn't have a piece of Patagonia clothing, but because I was at this event, they were actually repairing other brands of stuffed zippers. So I had a really cool Scott vest jacket. They're awesome. But the zipper had torn out, so I gave it to the Patagonia people, and they fixed my zipper for free. So yeah, I always recommend and encourage you guys to buy good quality stuff. And, I could probably now recommend Patagonia clothing, knowing that they repair their stuff for free, man. How many times have you snagged a jacket, broken a zipper, and then you gotta check it because you're not handy at sewing like I'm not, right? Anyways, enough about that. But anyways, yeah, the Eco Farm was really cool. This is the guidebook, and man, it just lists out like over 70 different lectures, different, times, and all the different, the dance, the seed swap that you guys saw. I mean, that was insane. And I would go through the guidebook and basically circle the talks that I was interested in. This one was entitled Pest Resistant Management, Alternating Materials for Better Organic Pest Control. This is Cultivating Relationships with Your Weeds. I think everybody should have some relationships with their weeds. All right, so, oh, and the other thing I did that was really cool is I went to watching a film on industrial hemp, which is an amazing product, and hemp, regardless of your thoughts on the cannabis, should absolutely be legal no matter what. There's no good valid reason, in my opinion, that we're not able to grow hemp because, the hemp seeds are valuable as a food. the fiber is good for building products, for making paper, all kinds of stuff, man. But it's currently not legal to grow it, actually. That makes me sad. Anyways, so I went to a lot of the different workshops. You know, the workshops are like a full 1.5 hours long. So you're really immersed in the topic. It's not like a short 50-minute workshop and all this kind of stuff. And, you know, I want to go over some of the different ones. I have like all these notes, you know, some of my notes are just on scrap pieces of paper, on small little pieces of paper and all this stuff. And we're going to go over some of the more poignant classes that I went to. So probably the first one is the easiest one, is I went to one called The Vegetable Gardener's Guide to Permaculture. And this guy was named Christopher Shine. And Christopher is really cool. He lives in Berkeley/Oakland. He's an instructor at the local college, teaches permaculture, and also he has a basically permacultured his whole house and his yard and growing food and all that good stuff. So I did meet up with Christopher after the talk, and you know, we're gonna go ahead and I'm gonna meet up with him one of these days in Oakland and be able to film his place and share with you guys his book, actually, The Vegetable Gardener's Guide to Permaculture: Creating an Edible Ecosystem. So he gave an amazing talk. I knew a lot of the stuff in there, but I learned about a few perennial crop plants that I was not aware of, and I don't know if I have it written down anywhere in these notes here. But anyways, aside from that, another talk I went to actually was these notes right here on scrap piece of paper. I think if you go to EcoFarm, trust me, you're going to want to bring one of those like nice notebook, journal/diary things so you can take tons of copious notes and not have it all on scratch paper like I did. So one of the talks I went to was actually IPM, or it's called Integrative Pest Management for Ants and Spiders. And so ants and spiders can be a big challenge in the garden because they are thought of as a pest, but you know, in integrative pest management, basically they try to do things as natural as possible, although it's not all organic. And I think this is a good intermediary step to going fully organic. Of course, the notes that I took are having to do with only the organic controls that can be used. So one of the things that the lecturer, and there's two people that came up and talked about spiders and ants, talked about is that spiders actually don't eat a whole lot of pests. You know, they eat some pests, but they're not as, you know, vigilant as like ladybugs are, for example, but they will eat some pests. So the spiders eat pests like leafhoppers, worms, small mites, and mealybugs. And if you are trying to control the spiders, they recommended using a pyrethroid for spiders. Like a pyrethrum and sesame oil would be an organic version. So next I want to talk to you guys about ants. And you know, while ants can be good in the garden because they can play a role in helping with things like soil aeration, also maybe some pollination, you know, in general, they're probably not a good thing. And I always want to encourage you guys to basically balance out your ecosystem, right? If you're spraying chemicals and even organic ones and wiping out all the ants, you're kind of messing up the whole food, soil, plant web, right? Messing up nature, because nature's ecosystem, everything should pretty much be auto-balancing. So, you know, part of me wants to try to leave some hands off, but on the other hand, you know, sometimes we do need to get involved when, you know, the ants are invading and taking over and doing something like farming aphids for their honeydew, and the aphids will literally suck the lifeblood out of your plants. So in that case, there's a few ways to control them, you know, such as you could use baits. Some of the baits are simply easy as the boric acid bait traps. 20% sucrose, 1% boric acid. Another bait called Esteem. Let's see, another ways to control ants are having a diversity of ants to control ants, because some ants eat other ants. And also, or will basically, like, they'll get in ant fights and they'll control each other. Another way, there's fungi will also control ants, and of course, you know, the baits. Yeah, so I didn't take a whole lot of notes for this permaculture gardening class, but I did get, he did talk about a seed sharing library and how there's some issues going on with seed sharing libraries. So stay tuned for the next episode on seed sharing libraries and how in some states they're actually illegal. So we're being prevented from sharing our seeds for free with no money involved, which to me is a complete travesty. So stay tuned for that video. All right, so one of the next talks I went to was actually on building soil. So I took some notes here. Building soil and soil management. And basically, some of the things I learned was you want to have a diversity in cover crops. As much as hairy vetch or, fava beans, or clover are good, right? We want a diversity to basically bring different nutrients and microbes in the soil. Another thing I learned is that you want to harvest your legume cover crops in 60 days. Cut them down after 60 days. That's when they've returned the most nutrients back into the soil. Some of the things for healthy soils, you want to keep the soil covered, very important. And one of the things that I do not agree with that they talked about in the building soil talk is they really advocated, or one of the speakers anyways, advocated manure-based compost whenever possible. And one of the loopholes in organic agriculture is this, check this out, right? If you want to spread compost on your organic farm, it's very well regulated, and there are specific regulations as to the compost you can or cannot use. But if you use manure, there's no regulations. So you can get any old manure from a factory feed farm lot that they're feeding them, GMO corn and soy, antibiotics, and who knows what else. Then they're going to take that manure or poop and spread it on the organic farm, and there's no regulations. They don't have to check it. But when you compost it, then there's more regulations. I mean, this is ridiculous. So if you're buying organic food and they're using, manures, you don't know what's in it. So I mean, just yet another reason, to grow your own. And once again, to let you guys know my opinion on manures, if you got a good source of manure like your own horses, your own cows, and you know what's in there, fully composted, use it, that's great. My personal belief is that, in nature, there wouldn't be piles of shit to fertilize, gardens, trees, shrubs, or anything in any large scale, right? In my opinion, organic farmers and home gardeners put far too much manure and rely on that as the source of nutrition, which it is nutrient rich, but on the other hand, if not done properly, you can, number one, burn your plants. Number two, you can actually run into problems because, the cows are pulling out nutrients, they're concentrating some nutrients, and cows are biologic accumulators. So, they're taking in toxins, and it's basically they're pulling out what they need, and it's being accumulated in the manure. So very important, get a good source. And let's see here. They talked about keeping the soil covered, which is very important. They didn't talk about adding trace minerals, which to me are critical for building soil. Let's see. Oh, this is very, very huge. 50% of nitrogen can volatilize in 24 hours, in manure. So if you got a pile of manure, it's just sitting there. Nitrogen and nutrients are volatilizing, and we're going to get back to this topic in a little bit. Oh, and you could get too much phosphorus when using manure. Oh, you want to get your soil tested. They recommend soil testing. I'll hopefully one of these days have a future episode on soil testing for home gardeners, because a lot of the soil testing seems to be for like large, farms. The kind of soil testing that I want you guys to get, not just the standard soil tests, that you could send off for. Those will tell you a little bit, but I really want you guys to check out and learn about the trace minerals and the deficiencies of trace minerals in your soils that only very few labs test for. So I'm going to, one of these days, get linked up with a lab and make a good video on getting my soil tested and sharing the results with you guys, and hopefully even negotiating some kind of discounted rate with one of these really good labs to get your guys' soil tested too, so you guys could know what to add. My main approach, because I'm not a scientific dude like in a big level, I'm kind of scientific and all this stuff, but I just want to give it a shotgun approach, right? Like if a burglar's going in my house, you get a shotgun, just freaking shoot in the general area, you're gonna get them, right? But with a little small gun, you gotta hit them right. So a lot of the information and things that I share on my channel, right, is more of a shotgun approach, right? like virtually all the different organic nutrients that I add to my garden, you cannot burn, right? You add too much manure, you're gonna burn and you're gonna hurt your plants, right? I could add, you know, almost unlimited rock dust to my garden and it's not gonna burn. I mean, too much rock dust is when the plant is covered and it cannot breathe, it cannot get the sun because there's too much, right? And that was, I covered that joke in a previous video, but that was funny. But yeah, it says, you know, manures are toxic, they're bioaccumulators. They also may have unfriendly bacteria, and this is huge, right? E. coli outbreak in cantaloupes and spinach, right? Not caused by any soil organism, it's because of the uncomposted manures. Very huge. I don't want you guys getting sick. That's why, you know, one of the reasons why I do not recommend the use of especially uncomposted manures. And of course, if your compost is not made properly, you still may have bad organisms in there. Yes, I mean, those are some of the things that I learned in that talk. Let's see, another talk I went to. Oh, this is a talk that many of you guys may or may not agree with. And my favorite talk actually was the no-till talk. I literally started crying in that talk because I know what was being taught in there is the truth, and that tilling is not the way to do it, and that there are some farmers in there, one of which was Paul Kaiser, who I didn't actually get to speak with personally, and I forget the other speaker's name, but I did connect with them, and I will be going out to their veganic permaculture no-till farm probably in the summertime, hopefully, and make a really amazing video to share with you guys what they're doing, how they're making really good yields without tilling their soil, right? And the other gentleman, Paul Kaiser, I will be going to his farm. He's in the local area, and he's been growing on a no-till farm, you know, for many years now, and I think he has like, I forget exactly the number, 2 to 3 acres of usable land. His farm is larger, but the flat land is only 2 to 3 acres. And on that flat land, he generates an income, not profits, but just net income of like $250,000 and 2 to 3 acres without tilling. And he does this in a very smart and systematized manner. So yeah, if you just do no-till and expect it to work haphazardly, you got to get your P's dotted and your Q's lined, or whatever they say, you know. You got to really kind of like pay attention if you want to do the no-till to make it work properly. And he's figured out all the secrets about that. And I'm going to share with you guys some of the reasons for not tilling and some of the methods he uses to increase his yields to, you know, surpass even conventional farms that are tilling and, you know, using chemical fertilizers. You know, if you guys do it right, you guys could have amazing yields, but we need to do it in accordance with nature, and nature does not till. And I know a lot of you guys are tillers, you guys may have rotor tillers and all this stuff, and everybody's been taught tilling, you know, for the past whatever how many years, but before that, we did not till, right? So anyways, keep that in mind, have an open mind, and listen up. So number one, tilling is not a good idea because it volatilizes the nutrients. When you till, you create a lot more surface area, and the nutrients that you've worked so hard to build up in the soil volatilize, they dissipate in the air, poof, they're gone, right? I don't want all my hard work up in smoke or up in volatilization, right? So that's why I don't till my garden, right? And on a farm, you might think, oh, you got to till the farm because you got more acreage. Well, this guy uses all hand tools. And yes, he has like a bunch of people helping him out on the farm, you know, so his labor costs are a bit more, but he does not till, but he still generates a fine income for him and his wife. And they're pretty genius brain types. They're kind of cool. And so he talked about one of the things that could happen is you can lock up soil carbon in the soil by using no-till methods. And one of the challenges on why we may have all this extra carbon is because of all the tilling that's going on. Another thing is you massively lose soil organic matter when you're tilling. This is super huge. He had a chart and he tracked his soil organic matter when he bought his farm and then to now, and years later it went up. So the norm is 1 to 3% of soil organic matter, and this is dismal. If you check most farming lands, this is what they have, 1 to 3% of organic matter. You know, many places have that matter just because they've tilled, they've bulldozed to put your house down, and there's not the organic matter that should be in there in nature's system. So by using a no-till method, you can increase the soil organic matter. You know, he had 6 to 8%. In just a few short years, he got up to that amount. And of course, every year is going to build a bit more and more. And basically, putting soil organic matter is basically sequestering things like carbon, sequestering nutrients, whether it's carbon or otherwise, in the soil. You're basically putting money in the bank. And this is why no-till is very important, because you're building up money in the bank, and it's like, you know, the thieves find your debit cards because you lost your wallet, then they clean out your bank, right? That's like tilling. You know, you work so hard to save all your money, then it's poof, it's gone. You know, you can prevent that in this situation by tilling, or at least minimally tilling. You don't have to go from all till to no till. You can till much less, right? If you till 2 times a year, till 1 time a year. That's still way better, right? When I own my 10-acre farm, I will do a no-till method. Now, if you do need to till, he did talk about the way to minimal disturb the soil. And let's see here. He said he uses a broad fork. So a broad fork to do some soil aeration is all right. Let's see, but yeah, mainly you want to build up the organic matter, increase the microbial biomass. This is also very important besides the biomatter. It's increasing the microbial biomass at the end of every season in general. Depending on the crop he's growing, he may just cut the roots off and leave them in the soil if it's something like lettuce, if it's something soft. If it's something harder, you know, like an eggplant or something, he actually may cut it, pull it out and compost it so he disturbs minimally. But basically in some instances he leaves the roots in the soil because those are going to feed, the old roots are going to feed the microbes, the earthworms, and all the different, you know, creatures in the soil. Very important. Another part of his no-till method, which was very super important, was basically growing natives and perennial plants and having hedgerows. So on his, I think, 2 to 3 acre of usable space, he had over 3,000 different perennial plants. And it's these perennial plants that attract the beneficial insects and wildlife to help control the pests and other things in his area. So that was also a very important component of his farm. And I'm only going over a few of the things that I actually wrote down that were important to me. I will be getting hopefully out to Paul Kaiser's farm one of these days and make a video for you guys to cover all the different aspects of how he does no-till successfully, because it still seems to be a little bit of mysticism over no-tilling, and is it really possible? Can you really do it profitably? And Paul has proven yes. Now, I'm not going to say it's easy, because he's gone through trials and tribulations testing his soil and, you know, very methodically doing this, and, you know, he's done all the hard work. He's figured out, I could go there, share with you guys some of the practices he uses, and you could have a big head start from going from not ever tilling, right? Even for home gardeners, it's really easy not to till. Like, I do not recommend you guys get out your rototiller to till your 4 by 16 foot raised bed. There's simply no need, you know. Oh, one of the things very important, surface compost can prevent weed seeds. Super critical, right? He had to work for years to get his weeds under control. Basically, one of the things that kind of like is in my mind is like, either you embrace the weeds and you welcome them into your garden, or you eradicate all the weeds. And this is by manual control. So he basically like wood chips all his pathways, and he like adds compost on top. And once he's got all the weeds out of there, you know, he doesn't really have any weed problems when he's adding new composted material on top that are free of the weed seeds. He also talked about companion planting and planting things really close together and succession planting. So, for example, with tomatoes, he liked to plant things like the escarole, the frisee, the basil, the lettuce. Cauliflower and lettuce he likes to plant together. The cukes, he says he likes to grow cucumbers with little protection from the sun, because in nature they would grow on the edge of the forest. And one of the quotes he gave was a quote from the USDA: "All life depends on the soil." And, you know, in standard agriculture of today, and even many home farmers are just abusing the soil by using synthetic fertilizers, in my opinion, and doing tillage which reduces, the nutrition in the soil and also decreases the microbial life, which is also an essential part of the food soil web. So yeah, tillage reduces organic matter, volatilizing. Tillage increases water need, okay? Do you guys hear that? Tillage increases water need. So in these times of drought, right, if you till, right, your soil cannot hold as much water, so you'll need to water more. We want to water less. Don't till. Allow your soils to hold more water due to the organic matter. All right, so tilling can promote more runoff and erosion. There's more fungi in untilled soil. This is huge. And 30 to 40% of what a plant produces, from the sunlight and all this kind of stuff, doesn't go to grow the plant. 30 to 40% the plant sends into the root zone, and it is basically root exudates, which is like, you kind of think of it as a sap, like how trees make sap. Not exactly a sap, but anyways, the plants send nutrients down into the roots that the roots exude out. It's kind of like when you sweat, that's like an exudate, right? Well, the roots basically sweat out nutrients for the microbes to feed the microbes, because the plants know that without the microbes, they're dust, unless they're getting, water-soluble synthetic nutrients, in which case they may not be doing that as much because they can absorb those directly. But it's the microbes really break down the organic matter and get the nutrients up in the plants. And when you're tilling, you're disturbing and upsetting this entire cycle. So yeah, so you want to disturb the soil as little, grow a diversity of plants. I mean, this was another theme of the Eco Farm for me in multiple sessions. You want to have a diversity of different insects. You want to have a diversity of perennial hedgerows, native crops. You want to have a diversity of growing different, vegetables in your garden in different beds, like crop rotation every season, because different plants have different root zones, and different root zones have different exudates, and different exudates attract different microbes. So we can have a really big diversity of microbes, because diversity is truly life. All right, so let's see. Cover your soil. You don't want to have diversity above and below the soil, very important. And tilling, of course, reduces the earthworms, and earthworms, in my opinion, are very essential for, not only soil aeration, but also they add a very rich natural organic humus that helps the soil stick together, but also add nutrients and more beneficial biologics to your soil. So that was probably my favorite talk on the no-till. Yeah, stay tuned and subscribe if you're not already to see the future upcoming episode where I will get out one of these days to Paul Kaiser's farm. I don't know when that's going to be. All right, so I know you guys saw, when I covered a few of the exhibitor booths in the hall, one of the exhibitors packed up before I could actually get to their booth, and it was actually the Baker Creek Seed Company. And actually, if you were there, you got free seeds from the Baker Creek Seed Company. Actually, I also got free seeds from Johnny Seeds, and I think this is an amazing bumper sticker. Germination matters. Yeah, germination matters. So yeah, the Baker Creek Seed Company, one of my favorite seed companies, rareseeds.com is their website. You can order GMO-free, open pollinated seeds that you can save and pass on to your friends, brothers, sisters, mothers, all this kind of stuff. They're putting on the National Heirloom Expo, and I want you guys to mark your calendars for the National Heirloom Expo this year. If you guys don't ever make it out to one of these Heirloom Expos, you definitely should. Mark your calendar for September 8th to 10th, 2015. This Heirloom Expo will take place in, once again, Santa Rosa, California, at the Santa Rosa County Fairgrounds. I've been in attendance for the last several years. I have videos about the Heirloom Expo. The Heirloom Expo is just a fun time. You will get to meet a lot of the different, you'll meet Paul Kaiser, the no-till guy. He'll be there again this year. You'll meet so many cool people that are involved, that are, leading literally the whole natural, organic heirloom movement, including, different speakers that are going to speak about, genetically modified organisms, why that's not so good. Let's see. Yeah, so many different, here's just some of the speakers that are going to be showing up here. But yeah, mark your calendar, get out there, yeah. Didn't get to talk about or visit their booth, but nonetheless, you guys got your calendar marked, and I wanted to see you guys there. So if you come, stop by and say hi to me. I will be really busy, you know, I just give you guys a heads up because I run around, make videos, give talks, all kinds of stuff. Anyways, before I go, I do want to talk a little bit more about the compost. You guys saw the cool compost booth that I went to, and you know, compost is super critical. You know, this is just like why you should compost, and I'll just go over some of the benefits. You know, compost is a solution to adding nutrients back in your garden, in my opinion. And some benefits are they provide macro and micronutrients, improve soil structure, neutralizes soil toxins and harmful compounds, inoculates soil with beneficial microflora, antibiotic and cleansing effects on the soils, and lower input costs, environmental costs. So yeah, then I got another handout on humus management, which is advanced topic. We won't really get into this, but humus is very important for soil microorganisms. And then probably my most exciting document that I picked up at the whole event was this one right here. It's just some typewritten, piece of paper. It's actually entitled "Controlled Microbial Composting" by Siegfried Luckeby of Austria. So I'll spell that so you guys could Google him. Siegfried Luebke. So basically, I mean, there's a whole science to composting. We think we put shit in a pile and it composts. Well, you know, this is kind of like German engineered compost, but I guess it's Austrian because he's from Austria. But basically, they've gotten compost down to a science, you know, to make higher quality, better compost. You know, not all compost is created equal. I've always said this, you know, and they have a specific system for creating compost, one of which is actually covering the compost, because once again, if you disturb the soil until you volatilize nutrients, and as your compost pile is sitting there, it's volatilizing nutrients, so you're losing nutrients. So yeah, that's just one of the things he covered in this article. I don't have the time to get into it today. I hope to maybe get into a video and doing a specific video on the process of really dialing in and getting your compost, like basically pre-inoculating your compost with beneficial organisms and food so that they could actually, you know, flourish and dominate the compost pile. So you're making a very specific kind of compost instead of just a haphazard compost. And I guess we'll leave it with that for you guys. So with that, I want to encourage you guys, if you're into farming, into all this stuff, I mean, I learned so much at the Eco Farm Conference. I want to encourage you guys to make it out, no matter you're a consumer, an educator, you know, a student, a retailer, a wholesaler, anywhere in the food supply chain. The Eco Farm Conference is there to make a more stable, just, safe, ecological food system, and I think they're doing a great job at it. You can learn more about them at their website that I'll put a link down below to. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you enjoyed this episode, please give me a thumbs up. It'll encourage me to get back to the Eco Farm next year to learn more cool stuff so that I could share with you and keep being the change in the world that I want to be. If you're not already, please subscribe to my videos. I have over 1,000 videos now. And be sure to check my past episodes on all different aspects of growing food at home, which can also be applied to large industrial farming, you know. Once again, my name is John Kohler with GrowingYourGreens.com. We'll see you next time, and until then, remember, keep on growing.